Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
The presumption is that all of you watching us live from Digital House are doing well. My name is Norman Tumhimbise. Today, as a pledge to all of you that every Monday 7 p.m. we are live in our studios with our show, The Hotline, where we have our permanent panelists. That is Honorable Awich Pollar. You know, that time I shouldn't say he was complaining, but I want to always have all his titles mentioned. Honorable Awich Pollar is a former judge in the UN. He's an advocate of High Court. He is the Director, External Affairs at NRM party, and a political analyst, a human rights, should I call you a human rights defender also? Or an activist?
Expert.
An expert, okay. An expert on human rights. And we are glad that every Monday he sacrifices his time to be with us here and share his opinion on topical discussion that we generate, of course, on your recommendation as our viewers. Tonight also we are grateful to have Professor Rogers Barigayomwe. He's an outspoken human rights advocate. He promotes, he's an advocate of good governance. But what is more critical is that he's a son to, should I call him also one of the Bushmen, you know, okay, not the South African Bushmen, but one of the old men that brought this, historicals, who brought this government, who brought the government of Honorable Awich Pollar in power. Unfortunately, I don't know whether he deserted or he was pushed away, but the son is continuing to have a candle and lighting a candle of wanting change and, of course, advocating for a general change, an overhaul change. He's a chairman, a chairman of Labour Party. A Labour Party to many considered, I don't know, do we say stagnant, moving one step forward, 2 steps back? He will explain how far the works of Labour Party have gone. In a few minutes, we shall be joined by Mr. Joseph Ochieno, He also has his battles with the UPC leadership, but nonetheless, he commits to always being with us here every Monday, and so is Honorable Awich Pollar. Honorable Awich Pollar, say hello to our viewers. And then I think we should also proceed thereafter and share with our viewers how your week has been. I understand, like you were mentioning off record, that it's not within your practice to be, it's very rare to find you not in suits. And he mentioned, because of the commitment he has for us, he had to travel away from Mbale and be with us here, and that's why he's in suits. But proceed, sir.
Good evening. It is true, by my profession as a lawyer and having been a diplomat for long, I really put on suits a lot. But now I'm not in a suit because I've been traveling from Mbale. We had a top management meeting of the party in Mbale because many of our colleagues are there. Our candidate is there. President Museveni is in Bugisu, Sebei, and coming down. So we had to be there. But also I like to say that Roger's father was not pushed away.
He pushed himself away.
He retired. He was a RDC for a long, long time. One of the most senior RDCs, and he retired.
Did he retire with grace or with disgrace?
With dignity. He retired with dignity. Remember, he is also an old boy of Tare School. Same class with Yoweri Museveni. Same class with late Kategaya. Same class with this guy was Biba Gamba. Same class with Kawanga. Kawanga, who was MP East Africa. Same class with Rosindana, former IGG. So, and you can see that all of them are retired, except the senior OB who is with another task, that is President Museveni. So, Roger's father retired with dignity. He was not pushed away. He's a historical and a founder member of the NRM. The other thing I wanted to make comment about is about my introduction of titles. It's not true that I want all my titles mentioned. All I always want is that if I'm with my colleagues and you mention is an advocate, then also mention mine. But if I'm here without any other advocate, I don't mind. Reason being, I've insisted that our colleagues say when you that NRM, they have no brain. And they say that even if you have your brain, as you're entering the gate, they remove the brain and you leave it at the gate. And there are many cartoons to that effect. So if I was here with a person from FDC and you introduce him as an advocate, please, for goodness sake, also say I am. But if we are just like this, I don't mind if you don't say it. But why do you, so that you don't bring in that silent thinking.
Why do you think people say that when you join NRM, you leave the brain somewhere at the gate? Why do you think
they're just being insulted? They're just insulted. They're being indisciplined.
Oh, it is because there are some deeds by some of you that
they're being
indisciplined.
They're being indisciplined, and also the way we take things in a soft, disciplined way. They think we are acting as if we are under instruction, that even if you have the brain, don't say this. But you know I always say objective things here. So it is not true that I want all my titles. I just want titles to be commiserate. My friend is from FDC or UPC, you said he's an advocate, please for goodness sake say I'm also an advocate. But if we are not with that, or I'm with them and you forget to say that they're advocate, you also forget mine. That is all I want.
Okay, do you want to share with us what transpired in Mbale? Are you getting votes? Are you getting those numbers? I've seen people say you ferry the students from, I think, Mbale SS or something, and it's a trending discussion where people accuse you of donating T-shirts, your T-shirts to students, and you claim those are big numbers that you have. Any comment?
I've seen that comment, but maybe people in the theater there could answer better, because we have top management, which composed of directors and commissioners under Dr. Tanga Odoi, Electoral Commission. So all of us have resolved that since the core mandate of Secretariat is mobilization recruitment, at this time we apportion ourselves regions. Even if you were a director of medical, you're a doctor, now you get a region. For example, the director legal, Barata, has Bunyoro. So me, I have Lango. Now, I can talk of my experience. The experience I had in Lango, which was the first. Remember, President Museveni just launched in Luero. And the timetable that election commission gave is going back to Luero. So Luero was just a launch. The real thing started in my hand. So I can talk with my experience.
Luero was ceremonial, just like just a mere launch.
So I can say with the experience that for me, what I would do, I would go like in a district of Molata a day before, deploy a public address system to call people, go on the radio, talk on the radio. The following morning, I wait for
Did you also ferry students in the Lamu sub-region?
I didn't, but we ferried people.
Not students, not young kids.
Reason being, election commission has given a candidate a district per day. Imagine if you are Mugisha Muntu and you are given a Molata. It is now upon you, the candidate, to see how you bring people to listen to you. So if you are Mugisha Muntu and you chose to go to the trading center,
you will not talk to...
And you talk to the few, that is up to you. But for us, we mobilize ourselves and said, you know what?
Bring them to one meeting point.
There are many sub-counties in a district and we want people to listen to our candidate, let us bring them, which is lawful. So we have brought big people, not students. Students who are within voting age, yes, you can bring them. Those who are within voting age. So that's why I was saying I need to ask those in the theater, in Bugisu, how are they doing it? Because today they were at the rally in the city, but I had to rush because I have other commitment here. Okay. But our policy is we bring legitimate people because the election commission has given us 1 day in that district. So it is upon us to see how many people can we mobilize. If we had a helicopter, we'd bring them by helicopter. Or if we had tractors, we'd put them in tractors. But that is up to us, and it is up to other individual candidates.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Awich. Professor Rogers, say hello to our viewers and also share with them. You see, I do not want to say that everything that Honorable Awich said is true. Especially in regards to your retired Muzei, on whether he retired a very happy man, just thanking himself for having supported this government, and of course it achieved its 10-point program, and he's happily retired. But pick it from there.
A pleasure, viewers.
For the avoidance of doubt, his father is called Barigayomwe.
Senior, that one is the Barigayomwe Senior, Junior. Yes.
The lot of 6166 Ntare School.
Okay.
Who actually is very right. He's even right now the representative of historical members of Mbarara in the NRM. But also true that he was the first politician to desert and move with Kiza Besigye. And after they saw that their friend could not be advised any longer, they decided to join him again because, you know, seniority. And I think he had also seen that they had done their part as elders, and it is us, a young generation, to take over. Indeed, I'm honored to be with my colleague and mentor, and in retired Major Awich Pollar. Actually, the only times I debate, you'd say that I'm controversial sometimes, but I'm strengthened when I'm with him because, one, he mentored me. He would be disappointed if he mentored me and I'm not saying anything, like the other people who say they remove their brains. And
that's why
I'm also secure
he pushes you to Chisubi. You remember, he sometimes wants to push you to Chisubi or to Mbarara.
No. Many times we are threatened sometimes when we say these words. But I know he's one person who you refer, if you refer to him, he will tell you, and he will tell his security people that this man is a bit genuine in what because he would know my character. He knows it for the last, I think, 35 years. So I feel secure sometimes, but really sometimes when only when I'm with him. The times when I'm, let's say, in NBS, I'm insecure. And many times you drive not thinking you will reach home. Because some of these people misunderstand. We mean good for the country. But when you anticipate, like me,
I'm a professor of conflict. I know what has happened in Rwanda. I can, even when I want to keep quiet about these things, it haunts me that if you don't say them, you will pay a higher price. Oh, the Bible says that he who knows a lot will be judged even with a lot. Because I really, and I got a privilege. I'm one of the privileged people, I will say, because of that background and also the education. And I've also seen this information. Some of the things we see, some of the things, by the way, will tell you we cannot even say on air, but they happen. Some of many things we cannot, because of like for them they swear oath of secrecy, but some of us, for just like they say, some in-house things you don't say them on air. But what we are saying is, I'm secure. And
especially when you are with him.
Yeah, when I'm with my mentor, he would understand. And like you talked about why people, and I like his objectivity, like he told you that this, for example, ferrying, he talked about it, that now there are other crazy people. If you brought most of these cadres, they will tell you that we don't ferry anyone. Like you saw just last week, Mawanda saying instead it is Bobby Wine who ferries. Now, these guys are crazy. Some of these guys, and that's why he leaves his docket, which is director of external affairs, and he comes even to talk things local affairs, which Dombo would be saying. But because Dombo is one of the crazy guys who will say funny things, even which even a primary person is seeing. But that objectivity, like he said, yes, in any campaign, you would want to have people. Why wouldn't we? And it is logical. What is mentioned is logical and it's acceptable. So you wonder why people would tell outright lies and take, and that's why actually I said sometimes NRM members insult even the least common sense. And because of that, I told him I'm even willing to come and be their spokesperson, since now they have a gap, because some of the people who are their spokespeople are the ones letting down the system. The system has, by the way, done many good things. Many. Absolutely. Their failure is about 30%, and it's in issues of transition, but because they have no one to speak objectively. And now they would think they would tell everyone to be mad and lack common sense to analyze or articulate issues. So I thank God for the week that so far. And that's why I've already said they've done their homework and we don't have so much chaos, because this is sort of the decent kind of campaign we would expect. The dirty things they did before, like unfairly imprisoning Dr. Besigye to miss out. And for them, at least they didn't overdo it like in Tanzania, who you get the two opponents. For them, they looked for the weaker opponent, because for me, I believe Dr. Besigye was a stronger opponent. So for them, they've left the weaker opponent. But what was interesting the week is that that's what I joked, that my mentor has become like Chemical Adi. Because he was here telling us that, no, Chemical Adi was like, you used to say,
we are here.
Positive, we are here, we are here.
Saddam,
now, and because I believe him so much when he told us, and really when he told us about his journey to Tanzania, I believed him.
Wait a second. So
until I had the EU analysis, because the observers gave their own analysis of the whole election, and they called it a sham. So I'm like, oh. But I understand when you have to defend a regime which has degenerated, you become like Chemical Adi. And also, not only Uganda, but the whole East Africa is moving towards degeneration. And the EU observer team, and I congratulate them for coming up with facts. The
European Union?
No, the AU, the AU
African
team, the ex-president of, I think, Botswana gave his positive, and he's like, no. And not only him, Ruto was being analyzing, and he said, you know, I visited Uganda. Uganda, you could get 60%. Of course, he was like, even 60 is doubtable. But he was telling them that here in Kenya, you can win by 1%, by a difference, and that's how it has been consistently.
The ladies loved in TZ.
Yeah, and you see the democracy in Kenya, people expression and stuff like that. So it's realistic that if you are to have equal resources, level ground, the difference would be about 1%. But these people who are doing 98, and wait for theirs, even Uganda here, I'm anticipating now this time it will go to 70%, which is crazy. You cannot be running from 50, 55, 8, say 50, then 70. Definitely you should be retrogressive. So, but because they think everyone doesn't have common sense, let it be.
Okay, thank you, Professor Rogers. Honorable, which you have had, you now have another title. A chemical ad, but anyway, to our viewers, Mr. Joseph Ochieno, for record purposes, has spent, I think, close to 2 hours between Kitugum House, that's Kampala City, to where we are in Makindye. You say hello to our viewers and then summarize your week for the viewers.
The worst experience of my week has been the last 1.5 hours. And if we're going through a normal election process, there's no way in which NRM would win any average sensible vote of a postgraduate geography student in Kampala. It's criminal to kill my man-hours on uncertain traffic in Kampala, the opposite side of Nachivubo Channel, where Ham and Mr. Museveni know what they're digging.
But there are no minerals in the city, so literally I simply making
I
sure
did not say they're digging for minerals.
So that term of digging, that's digging. They're expanding the channel.
So it's unfortunate. It's terrible. You know, I'm very saddened by the fact that I am not a candidate in these elections. For avoidance of doubt, I normally would not want to have brought it today, even generally. People are talking about election violence, but there's election criminality. I am supposed to be the UPC president, and it has now taken 4.5 years, basically 4 different judges to determine whether or not you can count these numbers that add up and make a determination one way or another. Early in the morning, I was in a discussion group called, discussion group, you know, and actually they call themselves intellectuals. And somebody was in a very cheeky way trying to compare a quarter of what's happening now with what happened under UPC administration. And one of them is somebody who's allegedly holding a PhD and making comparison. There's no way. And why I'm saying that is that you might look at this within the context of abuse of young children in Bali and whipping ordinary citizens who simply want to go and see some musician, maybe to dance Kandoli in Parara, and you whip them. You can't compare them with anything that has happened. Only that happened in 1980 when I saw, because I was a young student at the time. And so I'm quite saddened. I think my God will determine this in future very, very harshly. But anyway, as you know, I should have been a presidential candidate, and if I was a presidential, I should have been a presidential candidate if I was a presidential candidate. UPC would be having discussions around infrastructure, around environment, around the state of Kampala, what we should do to turn around this capital, including possibly the possibility of, if we can't decongest Kampala, we should think big to see whether or not Kampala is still viable as our national capital. We had a program for Kampala Entebbe conurbation and Kampala Jinja conurbation. It's common sense. You could do Kampala beyond Matuga and take it towards other places, you know, this kind of thing. But it's dead. Why? Because my brother here is talking about Chemical Ali, I would not want to link that with Comrade Awich, but Chemical Ali is in NRM. You know, these guys are busy whipping people and trying to justify impossible stuff at an election time. So in other words, I've given that introduction really to link up the fact that I had to spend 1.5 hours. Twice on your program, I have had to leave my car on the roadside and come on a motorbike. And today I deliberately decided not to, partly because it's risky, partly because I don't know why I should actually do that. And three, to say that no, we have to be determined to come and express these things on television. It's actually completely unacceptable. So now Museveni, Chagulanyi, and 6 others are candidates in an election. What is it that candidates other than candidate Museveni have got to tell citizens of Uganda, you know, that is so hidden that people have got to be whipped against? Considering what happened in last elections, and Rogers, I don't necessarily agree that this election is peaceful. It had been peaceful until very recently, and my hope was that it should be. And I think I told you on program here that I had discussions with people associated with the Awich regime, including senior people in security. And some of the meanest assurances I got was that we're going to have a much more peaceful election than before. It hasn't really happened in the last 1 week. It's actually terribly shameful. And I talk as an authority. Norman, I chose not to go and break people's necks in Luweero to throw bombs in Kampala after this NRM bandits took me as a student from Makerere University. I had more reason to go to the bush than Kizza Besigye, than Mugisha Muntu, and the entirety of this bunch that I know. I can tell you that. I chose not to do so. And outside my safety in exile, I chose to campaign through legal, political, and diplomatic means to return this country back into pluralism. I am now a victim. 5 years, you know, UPC leadership is locked with Museveni and their friends in the hands of Jim McKenna, dubious money and dubious deals. And Ugandans are being denied the right to freely have the kind of conversation that we're having with you. It's completely unacceptable. And so I feel strongly that then we force this bunch to return pluralism. You know, we go through a pluralist process. All we want to do is to challenge them, the bunch that went to the bush allegedly for rigged elections, allegedly because you couldn't compete. What is it that these guys fear? It is telling you that after 40 years, they have no clue. And it tells you that after 40 years, 45 years, they had no justification to go and break people's necks in Luweero. In any case, where I agree with my two colleagues, by the way, it's not that, and Comrade Awich, you don't necessarily need to talk about young people voting age. It doesn't need to be that. In fact, I'd put this in clarity. There is actually nothing wrong with a 10, 11-year-old child going to a rally. I would like actually us to encourage young people to get much more consciously involved. You know, for me, I got my global consciousness about age 11, 10, 11. Think about whatever else was taking place around the world. There is nothing wrong with it. When Milton Obote came to Mwiri, when I joined UPC, when Samugere came to Mwiri, when I rejected him because I saw there was froth, and when Museveni came and I saw the old froth, you know, there are students there who were 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Not a problem. The problem is bunching them and throwing them onto NRM propaganda, yellow T-shirts that are not particularly beautiful. Comrade Awich, by the way, you're very smart. Comrade Awich is actually generally very smart, you know. You know, so I like you. You know, so throwing these things at young people and pulling them onto those crowds, and some of the comments that I had from one parent, allegedly, one of those ones doing social media, that a parent actually wrote to Joel Sunyonyi and telling him that they're not happy. So we need to have open, clear policies on this. Would schools in Tororo be allowed to unleash their pupils to go to
other candidates?
To listen to Mafabi, Chagulanyi and others or not? If not, I think we need to make this standard. And in any case, UPC, the political party of education, in an election in which you're going to witness how people are being beaten, maybe I would actually instruct that schools should not open and schools should be no-go areas. And in any case, when I joined UPC, when Museveni Semugeri and Obote came to Mwiri rather than us walking down to Chakachira to add the numbers onto the crowds for this. So it's an unfortunate thing. Comrade Rich, you guys need to review the process. We don't want to see the bloodshed of 2021. There is no need for bloodshed in this country. The mess that is happening in Tanzania is no consolation. I reject the idea that we should compare ourselves that, because it's happening in Tanzania, Tanzania is far worse than us. No, we are Ugandans. My standards, when I go around the world, by the way, when I go around the world, I seek to campaign that I am, Obote says, no half measures on democracy. So you cannot say the democracy, that in Uganda is, you compare it with the one in Ghana. No, you were either or, that's one. Number two.
There is, in a second, there is what they call atilistism. Atilist, yeah? You know, atilistism, some other new term when it comes to...
Indeed, fair enough. And then the three of us partners, all of us would claim that we're Pan-Africans, and so therefore people who push for African personality and African identity, so therefore we campaign for the rights of the African in Haiti and that one in Jamaica. And if that part of our argument, and also campaign and argue that our rights are the same as Mamdani's and the same with the crooked people who follow Trump like zombies, you know, then it must be the case that we cannot pick and choose where we are. This is our Republic of Uganda. We should say that Uganda should be able to do as well as anybody else. So the election process in this country is, even if it was actually still violence-free, it would not be the kind of election that I expect, particularly when you lock up candidates and then you strategically use weaponized arms of government like judiciary and others to lock your potential opponents, to lock ideas, to use the fourth media to lock. It's completely unacceptable.
I have this before I cross to Honorable Awich Pollar. I do not know, most likely you did follow and or listened into Honorable Akena's statement. There is a video that is trending where he says that calling upon his people in Lango sub-region not to give their vote to the president. Inter alia, you mentioned that in your view he's in bed with the president, but then that video is trending asking people not to vote for the president. Any comment? Or you haven't watched that video? I don't
expect any UPC person in an election time to campaign for anybody else. UPC should be campaigning for ourselves. So it's, so if Akena chose to state that position, it's common sense. Except you'd ask me that why is Akena not supporting Museveni today when his wife is a cabinet member with Museveni's regime? And why is Akena not campaigning for Museveni today when it's on record that Akena and others somehow mobilized themselves to campaign for Mr. Museveni? Akena may not have done it so directly, but that is actually an open fact in the community which knows more than that. So there's an element of hypocrisy there. But if he said so, to be fair to him, maybe he's saying it 15 years too late.
Okay. Okay. Honorable Awich Pollar, of course, not to take Professor Rogers' statement so seriously about the chemical ad, but he was trying to bring out a picture of how confident.
He wasn't referring to Comrade
It was a mere analogy of people with confidence where they say something that even when at heart they know it's the opposite.
And if you don't mind, actually, let me also compliment that. Now, I've been with Comrade Rich for a long time. We've now been actually amazingly quite several years. And I think when we first met, we were both, Comrade Rich, he really thought like I was attending middle cat. We're friends. So Comrade Rich is one of the most objective guys in NRM, and no wonder he is now on a treble docket, including communications. But it's credit, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any response to both gentlemen? Honorable Awich Pollar?
Yes, of course, but the issue of chemical handling has already been handled.
Yeah.
Of course, it is derogatory, it is contemptuous, and not good to refer to somebody like it. But I saw you celebrating.
No.
So little did I know you are such a... Little did I know...
I'm not patriotic.
No, I didn't know.
He didn't go to Ndare. He didn't go to Ndare.
So I didn't know that you are... I didn't know that you are such a sadist who at any given opportunity
would celebrate
your friend.
Would celebrate
and
chaos.
celebrate at that. That is
Not
really
really. I think he
unfortunate.
was mentioning, but maybe for clarity, Honorable Awich, he mentions that in reference to what you mentioned earlier in the previous show, vis-a-vis what AU observers were mentioning about TZ, but not to say that you have, he was simply, making it so simple for any other person to, to understand that you speak what was slightly opposite what was in TZ, but maybe whatever that AU saw, maybe it happened after you had left their country. Who knows? Maybe after you had returned. But you can proceed.
I'm actually not so much of what he said, but I'm so much about your body language. And how much about the sadism that you celebrate. It's like you are always wanting at every opportunity, if I could get in trouble, and you feel happy about it. I'm not about what he's saying, but I'm more about you. I'm more about you than about him. So, but it should be known that Ali, who was a minister of information in Saddam Hussein's government, was a minister during the war, physical war, conventional war. And I don't know whether they would be given wrong information from the theater, from the war front. For example, we would say Americans should come with their own coffins. And they would say that let them cross the red line.
They will face it.
And he would say that they are far when they are actually near.
Baghdad,
so these are facts that you'd cross. You cross-check. And I'm not near that. I also know of a friend who one time was having a talk, and some friend referred to him as, because he was kind of trying to predict the future, and his friend referred to him as a prophet of doom. It was very bad, and he had to withdraw it. So it is not good to have your people and you want them tagged with the bad titles and you celebrate it, and you are happy about it, and you think like it shows you are actually inherent silent feeling about that person, or about me in this case. But I still maintain that like these two, Rogers knew me, right? We were sleeping in the same dormitory in Intare School. He knows I can't do that with that description that makes you happy. But I am a lawyer, and I always make statements which I always tell people in my office that can you depone on it? Depone means can you swear? Like in a swearing and affidavit, you say deponent. Deponent meaning the person who is swearing. For example, if you ask me, you are in Tanzania, did you see a car or a body being burned? Can I depone on that? No. Can't. I didn't see. I didn't see. Now, if I said that and somebody comes to cross-examine me, okay, you said you saw a car being burned.
Where was it?
Which corner? What was the color of the car? And what size of the car? And I would look a fool, because a person cross-examining will know I'm telling a lie. I was in Mwanza on the 29th. I flew back to Dar es Salaam on the 29th. It was a public holiday. There was a minimal movement. On the 30th, I was there. It was either a curfew or something. There was no movement. There was no way you could even carry out a riot, because movement was not there in Dar es Salaam. Completely, nobody was moving. And now my friends want to say, I was there, the way people were dying, the way they were burning on the street. Am I a fool? Am I a fool? Basically, there was no movement, UPC. The entire Dar es Salaam was a curfew, no human movement. So there is no way you'd have 5 people going to demonstrate in that state of curfew. So who did I see burning or moving? The few you'd see was just patrol cars, and that is it. But my people want me to say, I saw some.
No, the question would be then, why aren't the ones who have won celebrating in Mombasa?
Please, just tell me about, did I see, did I not see? Just tell me, did I see? Because you people want me to say, I saw burning.
They want you to change your mind and say, but
that is so. Accept what? I am telling you, Congress, I think you would see this. The 29th was a public holiday. And people who were moving, remember I moved from the airport to the hotel in Dar es Salaam. But Mwanza, I moved from Mwanza, the hotel, also to the airport. and there was nothing. It was still voting. And it was a public holiday. So there was no, their public holiday is not like ours, where in a public holiday and Lomom Street there's business.
It's full.
Okay? That it is a public holiday, but Lomom Street there's business. No, not in Tanzania.
Once it's
Public holiday is public holiday. Then the next day was like the day I'm saying there was curfew, and then there was no communication, remember? No phone, no network, nothing. So you couldn't see, and I didn't see. But it's unfortunate that you want me to say I saw.
Not me, them.
You want me to say I saw? Really? There was nothing. Anyway, so I know those who have been with me cannot accept the title that you are happy to be tagged to me. That is not, you cannot. I am very, that's why even explaining the idea of fairing, I said with fairy, I said election commission gives 1 day to a candidate in a district. Now, a district can have like 40 or 50 sub-counties. So how are you going to have all these people listen to you? If you have the means, collect them. Bring them, because you are only going to have 1 day to listen to your candidate, and that's what we have been doing. Now, if Nandala Mafabi can go and use the radio to reach the people in Amorata, that is his strategy. So I don't think there's more than being objective there. The other thing I want to address is the question of peaceful elections. Peaceful election is getting a matter of concern to us in NRM, because we went through Kawempe South and we saw it wasn't good. And our constant cry has been that the body state, the police and the army, should they do their constitutional mandate with electoral commission. For us as NRM, we feel competent enough to wrestle with ideas with fellow political parties. We have not called for reinforcement. So let the body state leave us. Because we believe what the party has done is good, and we believe we can explain. I had said earlier that I recently did a research. I asked 10 adult people educated when Museveni was in that place of Moses Ali, is what?
Yombe.
Jumani.
Jumani, sir.
I asked people, 10 people, excuse me, sir, my name is Awich. Of course, they didn't know me. Where do you think Bobby Wine is today? Nobody knew. I asked 10 people, nobody knew. The same 10 people would ask the same question, where is Museveni today? Is that place of Moses Ali? He's in a Jumani. Okay? People knew. So out of 10 people, 8 knew where Museveni was, 2 didn't know. Now, we discovered that when the state doesn't arrest Bobby Wine, when there's no fact, nobody knows where Bobby Wine is. So we told our colleagues, you are playing in the enemy's hands.
Yeah.
By going to arrest and going to provoke, you're playing in the enemy's hands. If you are quiet, nobody knows where Bobby Wine is. And therefore, to that extent, they are even going to provoke the state. So that when you provoke them and you act, you play in their hands. So for us as NRM, we want the lawful, peaceful election. And let the Bobby Wine do what they're doing. Let them go ahead. Let them talk to the people. We are also talking to the people. We are very sure with our opinion poll, which will be released, that we shall win with no less than 75%. Today I was driving from Mbale. I was driving from Mbale. You rarely see even posters of no. Very few.
But
very few. So we are going to win. Therefore, there's no need for a panic of our brothers in other circles, because a violent election will play to our disadvantage as NRM. It elicits sympathy for the Bobby Wine. It draws in the diplomatic community unnecessarily. It draws from in the international community. It draws attention of human rights bodies. It is uncalled for. We have done what we have done. The people know us. We can explain. See what I did in Lango. The 10 districts that I handle in Lango. See the turn up. Bobby Wine went there, talked. But everybody will tell you, yes, he came here, but no, we are not convinced. So I condemn a violent election like anybody condemns. And yesterday, we discussed it in our top management, and we associate to peaceful elections.
Okay,
I'm delighted.
In a second, I want to call upon our producer to prepare our footage. Of course, that's going to help us dive into this topical discussion in particular about the role of security personnel or agencies at large in an election. But of course, as they get the video, yes, you are saying something.
I'm really delighted with Comrade Awich's latter submissions. And I'm not quite sure whether people get him and get it seriously. That the position, Comrade Awich, we hope this is the official position of NRA, is that you disassociate yourselves with elements, particularly in the security service. I know we're going to be discussing that, who are inhumanly treating our citizens in such a crude way. But as I said, I say this as Ochieno, authoritatively. I am one of the few people who hold this child, Uganda, of competitive polity in this country. And I say so deliberately, that Ugandans deserve free, open, fair, competitive, multi-party elections. Now, as Comrade Awich says, it is actually possible, unless there is a bunch of cowards out there, you know, a bunch of empty heads, and I'm saying this very deliberately, you know, out there, you know, there is no reason why you do not allow a space in which there is a competition of ideas. List the programs of NRA, list the programs of all other political parties, allow the citizens to make the determination. Really, 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 honestly, for once, I may go as Nigerians say, let's see that process open. And in any case, as Awich is assuring us, they have confidence that's a matter for themselves in terms of what their own numbers are. But whatever the case, I think I reject it. But that said, on a lighter note, Comrade Awich, in 1986, as the NRA guys were rudely storming Kampala, Nairobi University students were caught at the guild president's flat in Micho Hall, Jojo Korapa's. And so these NRA boys came and have told the stories about it because I was there, I witnessed. Really, I was on the opposite side of the hall. But we didn't see bullets, you know, crisscrossing, you know, close. And the following Daily Nation's headline was about Nairobi University students who say that they escaped death by each, that bullets were coming close to them. I will never forget that. I think I want to look for that Daily Nation clip. So these things about war and reporting can be very interesting. But that was very apparent to me because it was very clearly the case that at Micho, I don't remember many bullets. I saw these boys and I have got my very strong views about them.
That's the same thing
you know?
are hearing, that Tanzania is burning.
Okay.
But I'll give that context.
Let's have this footage and then we shall...
Why don't you allow me make another one, which is a joke. This guy will enjoy it. So as the Tito Kellos were struggling with NRA, they brought out helicopter gunships. So the broader view in Kampala was that NRA now had an upper hand. And so Zed Maruru, who was then, I think, I'm a chief of staff for Museveni's friend, the Okellos on the other side, he would come on radio and television and say, so there's one thing that we're making a lot of joke with my friend, Dr. Ochieno, that he comes and said, you know, that people are saying, I hear you people saying, Mbarara is foreign, you know, Hoima is foreign, Fort Bodo is foreign. Foreign to who? Tomorrow you will hear that Kampala is foreign. So we knew that it was actually saying, and it was saying, what it was saying was not true. That indeed actually they were getting a fair beating from NRA. So indeed Kampala eventually fair.
It was a chemical addict.
Okay, let's have the president's footage when talking about the two Kenyan activists, and I think that's very key when we talk about the role of security, because inter alia, the government of the Republic of Uganda denied having had any bit of clue about their whereabouts some good months ago. And of course, in the Attorney General's response to court. Later, the president comes proudly to say, anyway, let's have the video about... No. Let's, he spoke for himself, and yeah, let's have the video, and then it's going to shape our discussion as we come back.
This is done by the enemies of Africa.
Yeah.
even our own groups here, we monitor them with intelligence. Here, of course, we have very good intelligence, and we know them. Like, for instance, we have got two Kenyans whom we arrested. They have been with us. I have their names, but I don't remember their names. They came. They were working with Chagulanyi's group. That they are experts in riots. People. Of course, with our very good intelligence system, we picked them up. And they have been in the fridge for some days.
They are cooling.
Now, some Kenyan leaders rang me and said that I should hand them back. I should either put them in jail here or hand them back. So we are going to, but you could see we are monitoring all of them. They all have connections with foreign countries, foreign groups funding them. This is done by the enemies of Africa.
Okay, those are the words from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda. I will ask, I should begin with the advocate of High Court, Honorable Awich Pollar. The person whose video we just played seconds ago is his commander-in-chief, but also a president of the Republic of Uganda, a chairman of National Resistance Movement, a presidential candidate. What stands out for all of us is that the two were connected to Chagulanyi and they are experts of riots. What also stands out for all of us and that deserves Honorable Awich Pollar's response is that good days ago, the Attorney General, in his defense against the habeas corpus application by the lawyers of the two Kenyan activists, they denied having any knowledge about the whereabouts of the two. And it's just tricky. Later, the president is happily communicating to the public that, no, we have good intelligence. We go to them, they were in the fridge. Honorable Pollar, tell the public about the fridge, but most importantly, these two contradictions about the Attorney General. Do we want to say that the Attorney General doesn't know what is happening in the country vis-a-vis his appointing authority? Proceed, sir.
First of all, about training or having foreigners who are experts in rioting. This has been a long-running thing. It is true that our colleagues from the West have been training people on how to riot and how to do, I mean, they do it, they train it, including training, for example, how to set up to say you are being persecuted for being a homosexual, where somebody stage manages a rent an apartment somewhere, brings people in police uniform and purports to be evicting them, that go out of this house, you're homosexual, when they are not. And then they record and they take it. But training for riot has been an ongoing exercise. Only that I didn't know they are being trained. I mean, these Kenyan experts came. In Tanzania recently, where I went, Tanzania spoke about Kenya openly. I mean openly, not to say, sometimes you can say, a neighboring country is training, okay? A neighboring country, you are left to guess. Is it Rwanda? Is it Uganda? Is it Malawi? Is it Kenya? But in the case of Tanzania, it was open. Kenya is training people to come and destabilize us. So this aspect seemed to be coming from Kenya. Well, even if it was a human rights NGO training, assuming there was an NGO in Uganda training people to go back to Tanzania,
And stabilize.
and ISO and police cannot check on this NGO to say, why are you training people to go to Tanzania? Then it means Uganda is complicit because it's being done in your territory. So the idea of Kenyan training and managing riot is a long-held position. But for me, I knew more from outside Africa who were training people. They have been doing it for long, so there's no doubt about that. I only didn't know that the Kenyans are now the expert. But in Tanzania, I repeat, I attended a rally in Dar es Salaam where the president was. I attended a rally in Zanzibar where President Dr. Samia was, and she talked. I attended a rally in Mwanza. And Tanzania's claim is not interpretative. It is explicit, not around and about a neighboring country, no. For them, they said Kenya is training to bring them. So I think the state of Kenya may not be involved, but they should reign and see that the so-called civil society who are training people, they should reign on the civil society, because it can be done by civil society in Kenya. But the state should really tell them, no, you are not going to do it here. Our friends will cry with it. So that is it. But now, about Attorney General and the conflict, I find nothing abnormal about it, because some Attorney General ideally represents government. For example, if a driver in the Ministry of Agriculture knocks somebody, the Ministry of Agriculture will be the client to Attorney General against the person who is deceased or the family of the deceased. So sometimes Attorney General may not know everything because it's depending on the affidavit sworn by the line ministry is representing. If, for example, that driver comes and denies, Attorney General will rely on that affidavit. Because Attorney General can't be in all the governments. Governments or government agencies are his clients. So I wouldn't be surprised if Attorney General didn't know the detail of this, and if they didn't volunteer to him. Ideally, the line ministry concerned.
Would you be concerned
that
if he didn't know? You would not be surprised, but wouldn't you be concerned?
I would be concerned, of course, because as his clients, they were bound to tell him the truth and let him handle. If the Ministry of Defense, or in this case the Ministry of Defense, if they did the arrest, or President's office did the arrest under ISO, it is that ministry which is now the client of Attorney General, and they are the ones who swear affidavit, because Attorney General will rely on the affidavit they have sworn in court. So I'm concerned, of course, that they didn't give the full information to Attorney General, leading to conflicting comments now, one from the President accepting, another from Attorney General denying.
Where does it leave the image of the President vis-a-vis the image of the Attorney General? And as a diplomat, in your view, where does it leave Uganda's image?
Maybe it doesn't affect the image of the two persons, but maybe the image in the country is that we still have to work hard for the coordination of agencies. Agencies need to be more coordinated, and we therefore need to know the role of Attorney General, that you should declare the facts to Attorney General and leave him to defend you. And you can either declare it informally or actually declare it in an affidavit, because it is that affidavit that Attorney General relies on to defend a matter, or even withdraw a matter. Because if some cases are so prima facie, Attorney General can tell government, no, we can't defend this, we shall lose the case, so let's leave it. Either we stop tell the DPP to stop the prosecution, or we just, if it is a civil matter, we just have to settle it outside court. Yeah.
Honorable Awich,
so,
okay. In a second, kindly, don't you think a section of Ugandans who think that that was done about the Kenyan activists could be the same that is likely to happen when it comes to Sam Mugumya, who also disappeared, and of course the Attorney General, as you saw, also denies knowing any whereabouts of Mugumya himself? what precedent do you think that sets?
I beg pardon, and your question?
Okay. Now that there is no doubt that the president contradicts with his attorney general, couldn't it be the same, the same practice when it comes to Mugumya, who also disappeared, and indeed the attorney general?
No, I think I would rather put it that now that there is a disconnect in information between agencies of government, isn't it possible that some agency, like say ISO or CMI, is holding somebody and the other agency is not aware? It is possible. Now that we have seen it is possible. Because also, sometimes the agency doing the arrest doesn't want to disclose early because investigation is ongoing. But sometimes they're also overwhelmed with the quantity of the work and they don't report to Attorney General. Or sometimes they're investigating the quantity of the job, or sometimes they don't think it is now worth a matter of urgency. So the disconnect between Attorney General and other agencies can be there. Remember, there are so many ministries Attorney General is looking after. I've already told you, even a mere driver of Ministry of Agriculture knocking somebody in Kitgum will come to the desk of Attorney General. So some information can file through. But I think Attorney General through Prime Minister can have educative processes with government agencies to tell them how efficient they should link up with him, since he's their legal representative. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's an arrest and it is not within the knowledge of the Attorney General.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Professor Rogers, you have keenly watched and listened in to the President's statement. And key things for, that I want you to also highlight. Why is it that when there is such an incident, the President is quick to say there must be foreign support? What is it that brings about such a statement?
It's running away from the truth. But one, I had the privilege of spending a whole afternoon with Professor Kanyihamba, who I think you chair his trust, and he was telling us why they put this in the Constitution, the fountain of honor. This was a big, big position, word given to the President of Uganda, which is being abused by the NRM government and lack of people knowing what they have to say. The fountain of honor. Indeed, maybe the President has used it, or maybe he will abuse it, but it would mean it is an honor to have that and to say whatever he has to say. And we know very well that the President's word can be quasi-judicial. His statements. But not that it can be, it has replaced, because the judiciary has both relegated and delegated its powers to the executive. Definitely, we all know, and I don't want to go into theatrics like Honorable Awich is saying, we've all seen it. We've seen all this Katemba, Besigye did this from Kenya to here and everything. The affidavits, he did it, he didn't do it. If President Museveni woke up and said Besigye should get out, all those due processes would be jumped. And it has been continuously being done, which I believe our comrades will know sometimes it can be related to abuse of power. What should be done in that case? Was it the President to say, even if it was to be said, was it the President to say that thing? And definitely, the President, and they say when you're tired, I mean he's in campaign, you are even refrained from saying some things. The one who sent me this message was a Kenyan friend. Talking about a head of state, talking about putting a person in the fridge. Remember, some people who dislike the President, for me who I honor, will relate it to Idi Amin getting his son and putting him in a fridge. And with this information system, this thing will never go away. the whites, everyone internationally, even if he says there is no damage control, it's already too much that they are like thinking this man. Remember, some will want to relate it to what the CDF sometimes said.
The basement?
Yes, now basement, now the fridge. He was not the person supposed to say this. And either some people are sleeping, and indeed, the president has been betrayed by his comrades. Before, he used to have super minister like Mbabazi who would come and do damage control. He would have diplomats like Honorable Uganda who were good tactfully. They couldn't say such things. But now, because he has people like Nabanja and the rest at the secretariat and everywhere who are not as reasonable as my mentor here, Honorable Awich, they let him do everything. He was not the one supposed to say.
Are you saying he's not competent to do so?
No. What I'm saying, he would have, because for him, and I believe maybe even in a joking way, he say, because for him maybe the last he had used the fridge to put a sausage, so now he's like...
Are you spinning for him now?
No, I'm just giving an imagination. But now when he uses a fridge in a small way, now people are going to say, you mean these people?
Put people in fridges.
Put people in fridges. And it will never go away. That's what I'm saying. He's
so what do you think? What do you think he meant?
So what? Of course, there are many. I wouldn't go into that because I'm still confused.
It was just symbolic because we have
we
have had people say so and so has been put in coolers, and that does not mean you're in a flask or something.
But that's why I'm saying him, because his detractors will use that word in many ways.
No,
and it
no. I think I'd like to interject here. I think we're being very unfair to Ugandan citizens. You know, we're being very unfair to Ugandan citizens. This is not about Museveni's detractors. You said Museveni is a fountain of honor. What we expect of him is more than that. He should have the decorum right and of one of fountain of honor. He must explain. He must explain.
And that's why I'm saying
where does it leave the image of the president, Uganda itself, and also the seemingly a disconnect between or amongst agencies, government agencies? Attorney General is an ex-official in cabinet, as in it's a very, very, very big position.
Yeah, he's a member of cabinet.
Member of cabinet.
Not ex-official.
Now,
so where does it leave his office?
With the separation of power, leave alone the Attorney General. There are people like even the Chief Justice in the three arms. Now, if it is a judicial issue, if the
which it is ideally, yes.
Which, if the Chief Justice said he would be the authority on that, but here in Uganda, like said, they relegated and delegated. If the Chief Justice said anything, they will take him as a joker because it's just they relegated that power. So someone to hear the Chief Justice say these things, they will. But when the president now says, Besigye will be out tomorrow, the whole due process will be and over time they've taken it this way, and indeed because of his position, believe me, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, president, will not even apologize for this. The NRM, even its party, like to say, like in known democracies where you like, even to clarify, they will never. And they take Ugandans for granted.
But I'm going to clarify.
No,
I will come back to you because there's this one. There's this also, which is literally also important. Because we need to read and interpret the president's word per word keenly. He mentions some leaders in Kenya called me, as in called him, not any other institution called him. In which capacity? If I may ask you, Professor Rogers, in which capacity do you think the Kenyan leaders called the president?
As assistant God. You see, and that's his position. Now I'm telling you, even if you see, like now it's up to me, they called me. They did not contact the government agency because this issue is not for the presidency. But they called me, and he will even tell you that I will not say I consulted this person, it should be. Now I'm deciding. Or referred
them anyway.
And I saw that statement. I'm deciding, should it be that I chase back these boys
or I jail them here?
Or like, do you get it? And then the whole thing of like, now this thing is about Western powers trying to take our oil.
That fast.
Did he say oil?
Let's
Yeah,
cross the-
I have read the whole thing.
whole
The
statement.
one I read. Did you read the whole thing?
The whole statement. Okay, let's
Yeah.
cross to
So-
Mr.
Oh my
Like in a
God,
second.
Uganda.
Okay.
You know,
Mr. Ochieno.
in normal times, NRA would have lost its elections badly.
What do you mean in normal times? You mean we are in normal times?
Extremely abnormal times. We're in a system in which the 3.5 of arms of government won. The executive, the judiciary, the legislature, and part of the fourth estate, US state, all intertwined as one institution which my young brother here refers. In a normal democracy, we would be asking for Mr. Museveni not only to apologize, but in some cases actually we would be asking for him to resign. But I know these are stretches. But we want to just teach young Ugandans what it is that power belongs to them and they own this country. But definitely the focus today would normally tend to be even harsher on the junior officer, meaning the Attorney General. Why he said so. And I don't want us to become experts in analyzing the state, because I don't want to come here to become somebody who seeks to cleanse NRA on behalf of the people. The burden of responsibility must lie with Mr. Museveni and his Attorney General, one who's telling the truth. Now that Mr. Museveni has said so, the focus must be for you, the guys on the fourth estate, to demand an explanation on behalf of the citizens. This is an election moment, you know, on behalf of the people of the Republic of Uganda. Why was it, did he tell, basically effectively a lie, isn't it? And the law is here. That's basically a lie to the whole world. And it's a lie, particularly because the citizens involved, the people involved, are citizens of another country. It's a lie, putting this country in danger. It's a lie. And if he did not tell a lie, what is it? And if he did, who was responsible for doing that? The Attorney General needs and ought to come out and explain this to the people of this country. Now, in the event that he had been provided false information, somebody must take responsibility for that misinformation. Is it a break up in the system, some of the agencies, some of the information, intelligence? The truth is that I suspect that the Attorney General knew what it was, you know, and opted in a laissez-faire way, because Ugandans really don't matter, and because now East Africans don't matter. Since I saw the Standard newspaper putting Mr. Museveni, Paul Samia, and Ruto as you know, militant dictators of extraordinary nature, you know. So if that is the perception, then we East African citizens are on our own, you know. But it also tells you that that is how basic our leaders are treating us, both here in Uganda, in Kenya, and in Tanzania, the citizens of this country. I talk as Ochieno, whose party and leadership are founding members of the East African community, original East African community. I find it completely unacceptable that after 60 years of the founding of the East African community, we should have a state in which a Kenyan citizen is held akimbo criminally in Uganda, just like Besigye was held criminally in Kenya. And the head of the state in Uganda treats us as if some chicken crossing the border in Malaba. By the way, the language of diplomacy and Comrade Awich is here. Museveni should not have been using that word.
Which one?
The fridge thing?
Fridge.
1. Kenyans were holding them 2. 3, if Kenyans are being trained, actually, this thing about Kenya and Tanzania should actually be a diplomatic fallout question. To actually draw name, and I've been in diplomacy, and he has been. By them saying this for your young viewers, including those who are students of international relations and diplomacy, it just doesn't work that way. you know, so that Mr. Museveni has said like that. What does he mean? Because if immediately you say Kenya, you're drawing Kenyan flag. You know, it's a state-to-state kind of stuff. Now, if we say some elements of people coming from Kenya, which is what Comrade Rich is trying to say, that's a slightly different matter, but you need to frame it in a different way. And usually, because it's actually coming from the head of state, you know, possibly you don't mention the neighboring country, but if to do, you're putting the Kenyan authorities on the spot. What are they doing with their citizens down there? But also on the other, Ruto, you know, these are guys who are street fighters, you know, because really, beyond that, the Kenyan citizens have got a right to demand of Ruto the deal between him and Mr. Museveni over two individuals who are citizens of this country. But, you know, this free thing, and we are holding them, and we want... I'm genuinely shocked that we are talking about that in 2025, and we're not talking about this in 1975 when Idi Amin was in charge of this country. It's amazing. I'm genuinely worried about this country, this sub-region. Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. The three leaders, some of whom are behaving like rulers, are actually holding citizens of this sub-region hostage. So finally, if it is the case that Kenyan activists come here in an open East African community to engage in solidarity with the others, we send
training people, experts in riots. So maybe that's what you should also highlight.
We send people in as a liberators to Southern Africa, and Mr. Museveni boasts about having, thanks to UPC, that we gave him the opportunity to go and train with Frelimo people. Thanks to UPC, by the way, UPC, we gave these guys the opportunity to do so. So what's wrong with that? But if it is, you know what, activism, because I'm the stream, by that I don't know the details, and it's amazing it's coming out. If it is about activism, I have been involved in global activism. Would
you have let them free to train your, to train
others in activism, like in civil society activism, there's nothing criminal wrong about it. Finally, good enough you raise that. Comrade Rich, in civil society activism, there is globally nothing wrong with that. But if there is evidence that the Kenyans who are coming here and associating themselves with NUP people and teaching NUP people how to throw bombs, that's a different matter. Now, in the event, unlikely event that was the case, you deal with them not through the fridge, nor basement.
Through a judicial system.
You take them through a normal judicial process. But finally, it's cheek on NRM, Mr. Museveni. You know, we know what Tanzanians did with them to help break people's necks in Luwero and throw bombs here at Kampala. We know what Libya did with them, you know, to support them to throw bombs and kill our people in Kampala and in Luwero. We know what foreign forces did, including, you know, those so-called Mbu whites. We know some of them. I don't want to mention their names. What they did to support NRM bandits here, to break. So it's cheek coming from Museveni simply because they're two individuals who are coming basically to mobilize and organize. But as I said, I repeat, as I declare for UPC, we don't do those things. If it is the case that these are people purely in terms of civil society activism, I'm a global civil society activist. But if it is the case that these people, there is evidence that these people were being trained to learn how to do motor bombs, what is it? Snail bombs, like those things of the Irish kind of stuff, whatever, you know, let them take them through the due process of law.
But even let me interject. Yeah. Even if it was still the case, the father of that is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
Father of what?
Of not civil disobedience, of riots. Because when he was 20, he went to Mozambique illegally. So in his capacity, he should first start by repenting of all those acts. Okay. Because he has been an example, and up to now, him with Comrade Awich, they boast of those acts. And these people have not performed even 5% of what they even are not intending to do 5% of what they did. And these guys are outraged. They should first apologize to the country. Or say, we did it under these circumstances now. But for you, who gave them entitlement? And
that the thing is a preserve for them.
At that time it was illegal. But like he said, if it is simple activism, then you would try even to understand it. But if it is illegal, let it be done in the judicial.
Okay, I want to go to Honorable Awich Pollar, but also with this preamble. As an advocate, and we also want to educate the non-lawyers out there, that the application for a right to habeas corpus is to literally mean, or rather instruct, the government to produce a specific person, dead or alive, in court. What we saw is that the due process should be, so as long as one is in a gazetted detention center, the government in charge, like here, the NRM government, but of course with its institutions, ought to check through every gazetted detention facility, bring that individual before court, dead or alive. In this case, the Attorney General, in his wisdom and in consultation with other agencies, through what they presented to the to court as their defense, that they did not have any information about the whereabouts of these two individuals. Honorable Awich, this is your question. Do we want to assume that Uganda has ungazetted detention centers where, out of blue, the president now finds these people and he's just thamping for having, had them in the fridge, where the Attorney General didn't know, where the police didn't know, where the Chief Justice of Military Intelligence didn't know, neither did the police know, because it is in consultation of all of those agencies that the Attorney General submits his defense. Proceed, sir.
Your question is whether or not they are ungazetted detention centers.
Yeah.
As far as the official position of government is concerned, people should be gazetted, put in gazetted places. So if there's a zeal or a method of work devised by some junior officer somewhere, then that is not within my knowledge. If the overzealous government cadre or government officer decides to put somewhere where the Attorney General knows, thinking that if he puts somewhere then the investigation will be jeopardized, that is his business. I wouldn't know, but the official position is that every person suspected of being in conflict with the law should be put in a gazetted place. That is the position. Now, having said that, I want to comment about
the fridge.
The fridge thing.
No,
I do not see why we're making a big thing out of this, because the president was just being figure of words. We have used this, a detained person, we have used it in many places. Some people say in my village that is under the crested crane. Why? Because the crested crane flag is always flying where there's a prison, what you call a gazetted place.
Okay.
So in my place,
if someone's under the crested crane,
he's under the crested crane, meaning he's under detention.
Okay.
Others say under the coolers. Others, President Museveni said fridge. So it's just a figure of words, and I don't see why it should be this. It should be like this.
They are giving it a golden rule.
So
interpretation.
it is just the figure of language. Anybody can use it in very many ways.
But I'm sorry, but Mr. Museveni is not anybody. And I'm taking this quite seriously, by the way. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, Comrade Rich.
So it was just a figure of words, figurative. Like I said, some people in my village said it's under the crested crane because the flag is always flying there in a detention place, either police or prison.
Is it a diplomatic language?
As a diplomat?
As a diplomat. He asked you as a diplomat.
Yeah, it is diplomatic. Yeah. So it is. So unless you wanted him to be, you wanted him to say they are under detention. So, but this is just a figure of words, and I do not see why you should make a big deal about the figure of words. Now, there was also a question about why him.
It shouldn't.
You see, why him is because the Kenyans rang him. And why Kenyans rang him? Because for a foreign person to deal with a country, for them they know the entry to that country is the head of state. You wouldn't be getting into the 45 or 50 million Ugandans or Attorney General unless you want a court case. So the president is the ultimate person to get to. But also remember that the Constitution provides the DPP, Director of Public Prosecution, with the ultimate power to prosecute. But remember, the DPP is prosecuting on behalf of the state. That is why the person who goes there is an attorney of state, a state attorney, an attorney of the state. And remember, the president is the head of state. The president is the head of state. Attorney General is an attorney of the state. Therefore, it is even right and fitting, like Rogers was saying, that if a head of state decides to instruct the state attorneys to discontinue a proceeding, that would still be fair enough. That a head of state is telling the attorneys of the state that the state is not interested in this case.
This matter.
So whoever finds it logical, therefore, is logical that you do with the head of state, because the head of state can instruct the state attorneys, and the DPP is part of the state attorneys. So I find it that is the line that the president comes in, and that is how.
Where does such a president leave the independence of the judiciary?
It doesn't tamper with the independence of the judiciary, because first of all, know that the judiciary is both holding criminal and civil cases. So here the state is only responsible for discrimination in criminal, and therefore it won't matter with that. So, and the Constitution provides that the state can withdraw, using the DPP, can withdraw a charge or can drop a charge anytime. So it has no problem with me interfering with the judiciary. But I also want to explain this thing about the training. The training thing.
Experts on rights.
Yes.
Those were his words.
See, some people, including Dr. Besigye, came to a conclusion that with the popular support, the popular vote,
of NRM,
would win election. So Besigye had said that he is not going back to participate
in an electoral.
So they were now devising a way of getting state power through other means. Now with NUP have devised a system in Uganda saying, look for the votes, vote, and demand for the vote. It is there in the Uganda version. But
Karonde, Kakume, Kabanje, I think.
Yes.
Is that?
So this is actually an inbuilt insurrection system that we shall vote, but eventually we should be prepared for alternative B to walk to State House by an insurrection process. Go to State House by insurrection, by uprising. And a state worth its name, if it gets such experts doing it, would definitely curtail them. Because that is what the intention is, and the state is aware about this. A state worth its salt would not live to see that NUP is saying, you said this what? In Luganda it is what?
Like
Kanonye,
Karonde, Kabanje.
Kabanje. So these are the strategic things that our opponents want. So it is inbuilt that after election, because we know we wouldn't win, but have an insurrection. And the idea is built around the Greater Kampala, Mukono, Wakiso, and all that and all this. The experts, as they were arrested, know it. And therefore, a state worth its name would not sit by to do that. The state is saying, please go through election. If you feel you're cheated, go to court, and then matters end in a judicial and a democratic way. But your idea of a riot, the state won't allow it. So this is why there's this system of protection. And it happens. Now, our colleagues in Kenya, and with some Ugandans, for example, the Agasa, tried to go to Tanzania, and the Tanzania simply picked Agatha and took her to the nearest border in Mutukula and said, there is home.
After allegedly torturing her.
Go home.
After allegedly torturing her.
The Kenyan lady who came here for the Kizza Besigye thing They flew to Tanzania. Tanzania said, stop here, get the next flight, go back. Now, this one who come here as experts in rioting, in the 360,
fridge.
They definitely, you can choose to say they are put under the crescent crane, like in my village.
Not a fridge.
Or you can say they are put in the coolers, as people say. Or you can choose to say they are put in the fridge. But it's a figure of language. So that is it. So I wanted really to explain the element of the training. The element of training is a long-standing thing, where some friends now said, for us, we know we cannot win through a democratic vote, but we have option B, which is rioting, and which these experts claim to have. And I said in conclusion,
is there evidence, Comrade Awich? Because if you don't mind, because I'm still wondering, and quite honestly, I'm not being unreasonable here. If there is evidence, particularly if you put the context of insurrection, if there is evidence that this is what these guys are designed for, you know, why don't you make them go through the due process of the law? And of course, I also agree with you that it's possibly not particularly unnecessarily unusual that you would go through a head of state. In any case, anyway, if citizens of a country are being held elsewhere, having problems elsewhere, is the burden of responsibility lies with the head of state. So it's common sense that Ruto would engage with Mr. Museveni. But normally, and again, I'm part of understanding of government globally. Mr. Museveni would be telling Ruto that your guys are on stage ABCD of process ABCD. You know, which ones do we then give discretion, or which one do we then go ahead and say we speed up the process?
But I think
the issue that has been raised here, which is at what stage are you interfering or not interfering with the due process?
You answer both, Honorable Awich, with this also. Let's talk about also the 48-hour principle, for instance. As in this long, you have perhaps some evidence that these gentlemen are experts of rights. You go beyond the 48 hours to a month, and then all of a sudden you now have them. Do you find anything wrong, or it's also justifiable?
First of all, his question was, is it true? Is there evidence? It is true. And that is why, you know, Comrade Ochieno, with the current state of technology, it is easy to get information.
Of course, yeah.
You can be sure that
agreed, yes.
They get this, the intelligence can get this information. There's recording, there's everything. So it is true that they are experts in the rioting. So, and that is why Kenya was saying, you either give them back to us or take them to court and really, because the Kenya are not even saying they are innocent. Kenya is also crying for due process. So now, so the simple answer is there's evidence that they intend to make that approach of insurrection.
And so therefore, we concede, if you don't mind, that you concede that there is evidence. We chose not to go through the due process, but instead take them back home. But we chose to break our own system by holding them for 30 days.
So that is his question.
Yeah, sure.
That is his question.
And
now
apparently
your
Kenya
question
hasn't tried them, has nothing to against them, as far as we know. They are.
It can be fair enough to help Comrade Awich. That can then become a political issue in Kenya. The Kenyan authorities can decide to choose to be good to their citizens, but that was a matter for them.
Yes. The Kenyan could choose to prosecute or not, but remember, there's a whole lot of criminal procedures about prosecuting
for a crime not committed,
in your country. So I think Kenyan government doesn't want to go through that. The offense is committed outside Uganda, is committed against the state of Uganda. So what would the DPP of Kenya have to do with it? They really have to look for something. So just about that. So maybe I left something about the training. The training is these people who were arrested. The only thing that makes you know that they are wrong is their guilty mind. You see, you don't need to, in criminal law, it is not what you have done that is a crime. Okay, it can be actors, racers, that is completed, but it is your mens rea. Now, these people, if you ask them,
the intention,
you who was here on the training, do you think it was wrong? and it was right. They know it. All that now, what to happen is the state attorney to look for which section, but they know they are wrong. Now, about your question of
the 48 hours.
The 48 hours. This, we must adhere to the constitutionality of 48 hours. There's no shortcut about it. You either charge them or release them or give them police bond. Now, inside though, that's why I'm saying the people in the theater need to answer themselves, because I don't know why it took this long. Remember, if you are arrested from Kisoro, the 48 hours applies in Kisoro. Should the investigation means you are transferred to Mbarara,
48 hours
starts in Mbarara.
So
if the investigation needs Masaka,
those are the exceptions now.
It starts in Masaka.
So you might end up having all 6 months.
Yeah, because it starts. So that is what the law says. So that's why I'm saying the people who are in the theater should explain why this 48. But that is how the 48 hours works. You are arrested from Kisoro.
If they are about to elapse, they transfer you to another.
When it is 47 hours,
they take you to another detention center.
You come to Kabale.
You go back to zero.
Then you say to Kabale, but it is 47 hours. You are in Mbarara.
But have this.
So, about why this breach of the constitutional provision, I'm saying the people in the theater need to explain. Was it under this circumstance we are saying or not? I know sometimes they are overpowered by the need to investigate, but we have often said that you shouldn't violate the constitution with a need to investigate. You can charge and remand them and continue your investigation.
Okay, let me give
but charge them and remand them.
Let me ask you this, Honorable Awich, Honorable Awich Pollar, and also educate our colleagues that are watching us. We have seen the president not once or twice being supported by his friends from across the country, in fact, rather from across the region. We have seen the late now Odinga on the, Mr. Museveni's campaigns, and so many others. Why is
Gaddafi?
Yeah. So what makes these two people too special and different that they cannot come and support Bobby Wine in campaigns?
Wow, that is a different matter. But now that you talk of education, I forget something. You talk of habeas corpus. Habeas corpus, for the viewers, corpse, you know, in ordinary language you think corpse is a dead body.
Yeah, it's a dead body, yeah.
But corpse is actually a body.
Yeah.
It is a body. That is why we have corporate, a company. Because a company is also a body.
Yeah.
That is why we have corporate. That is a body. So we have corporate bodies and what?
And
the body corpus. So therefore, habeas corpus means bring the body here. Not the dead body, but the body here.
They have the
and along that line of education, habeas corpus happens to be among the 4 things in our constitution that you should not tamper with.
Yes.
You can't tamper with under any circumstance.
The president has
one of them is the torture. Remember in the past when Okello has stolen chicken, you take Okello to court and the judicial officer would rule.
Give them strokes.
20 strokes. And they would call a scary, what in our place we call it Ogwangweno. Call a scary in court and it would administer. Now not more. Abolished completely. And that's why it is abolished even in schools. Beating children in school. The other one is slavery. Not even Museveni has the power to say Okello or anybody is my slave. The next one is hear him. So when you hear something about a witch, please
fair hearing.
Let him say he's part of the story. And of course, habeas corpus. So that is as far as the education is concerned. Now your question was?
Honorable Ruto, rather Honorable
yes, the campaign around.
Yes. Why not allow these two campaign for their friend? Because that's what, to them, that's what had brought to them. That's what is on record. That
is what is in record. But is it what is the truth? We have already said that evidence is, our friends are saying, Kanonye, what? Whatever it is.
Okay,
so, the evidence the state has is that these are not campaign agents. Campaign agents in that they can advise you how to approach the people, how to talk, to identify your issues, how to address and win votes. The evidence that is there is that they are there to say, train for an insurrection. And therefore, this is different from Dinga or even Ruto coming to campaign for Museveni.
Okay.
Comrade Awich, I still have issues, if you don't mind. I still have issues, no, because you're a lawyer. But I still reject the idea that mens rea is the only basic, because actually actus reus. Now both it has to be
act itself.
It has to be both actus reus and mens res. Now on this occasion, really to assume that because somebody had an intention, or maybe even by the way, in many cases, you could even say that, well, somebody had a knife, and you say that we found him with the knife in the car. Could argue that is going to slaughter a chicken like this one in Teso. So really, I am still not convinced that we must be seeking to prosecute people on the basis of intelligence that they had the intentions. Now, I'm not a lawyer, nor am I a criminal lawyer in any case. But I find it very, very, very. But the last thing, if you don't mind, since it's going to be, and this is going to be my last submission, Norman, the AG seems to have committed perjury, on the question between Museveni and himself. Yeah, I really want, because you guys, I don't want to come here. It's a long distance coming here. But we need to take this very seriously during this season. And all I'm trying to ask, the overzealous people in NRA should stop the extreme nonsense. Now that's your last submission. Meaning that, well, if it is, this guy did this under oath, and that is perjury. And perjury is an extremely serious crime. Answer this and then you will, of course, sorry, I want to give you extra minutes. I want you to use your 2 minutes. How best do you think security agencies, especially now during the elections, can conduct and or execute their mandate without compromising on their standard and their role in this? And that bring prejudice. All we simply say is that they should do what they've told some of us, including some of the senior guys in government who have assured me that they're not going to misbehave and to behave in a manner in which they seem to be wanting to get extra medals. Election campaigning should be intelligence-led, including this other one in Kenya. Let it be intelligence-led, and you should have the capacity to be able to do so, and really allow people to freely campaign. And if you to go ahead and arrest a group or a crowd of people, have the evidence, arraign them through the court of law. And finally, if you're doing one to a group of NUP people, surely do the same to a group of FDC people. And since you decided to throttle UPC so that UPC candidate is not there in Ochieno and is in a particular corner of Nagongara, do the same to candidate Museveni. Surely this is why NRM went to the bush in 1980. In 2025-26, we should not be going through this thing again. Do you find security agencies biased? They're very apparently biased. They're very biased. They're very apparently biased. They're so excessively biased. I had the assurances that they're beginning to behave, and all of us here have said that actually the early part of the presidential campaign process was reasonably okay, and the last 1 week has shown that it's completely unacceptably biased. Professor Rogers, and then I'll come to Honorable Awich to close. The same question. The spirit of our Constitution and the spirit of our fathers about to betray it was that, and it is in the Constitution, that the military men separate themselves from civil engagement. And even in simple management, right now, because justice has to be seen to be done, and every Ugandan is observing what is happening. So way forward, because we want to recommend to this nation that the security agency, the spirit, by the way, you remember, and it was within President Museveni and his revolutionary force that they allegedly they retire from the army, from the military, to participate in civil affairs. I'm retired. However, they've reversed all that. One, they retired at one time seemingly, and then they re-engaged. So now the whole thing looks biased, whereby
the citizens and exactly how, because I believe with Comrade Awich that these people are trying these trends because they've been left with no hope. And bad enough or good enough, the Comrade Awich will see some of us, me and Joseph, and we also enemies. You get, and you never know which tactic they want. And actually, indirectly, they are inviting the whole nation to use what they use, the methods they use. Yet we've rejected their methods, and some of us are still rejecting these riots. But look at who is the second biggest candidate. That is NUP.
Yeah.
Because they use methods maybe closer to theirs. Then you look at people who have resigned, like let's say Mugisha Muntu, and that one they know in themselves. I don't know if it's because of their DNA, their violence DNA nature, that what attracts them is the violence or their violence. Then what distracts them is the common reasoning, the conversation. So I believe as a nation, we should have a conversation to what is going wrong in the nation. And it is not going to be solved by this vote. And they know it.
Okay.
And he told you they have 75%. For me, I gave them even 70%. But that is a fictitious figure according to what?
Who gave?
Because I'm a researcher, I input what you will manipulate, all the For example, I tell all Ugandans, if you gave any Ugandan, including a nursery student, 10% of the funds NRM or President Museveni uses, they would be the president of Uganda. 10%.
Okay,
give it to me, give it to Labour Party.
You will get that percentage. Okay, I want to, you have 2 minutes, Honorable Awich Pollar, at close, but also to answer to this gentleman called, he's our viewer on YouTube by the names of Odoy. Yeah, by the names of Odoy. He asks, if there was a case, why didn't they rule before court? I think he meant why didn't they? Why were they put it? Aligned before court? If there was a case against these two Kenyan activists. But of course, with your answer that with the closing remarks, and also Mr. Awich Pollar, rather Joseph Ochieno says the security agencies are biased.
And perjury has been committed.
And use your 2 minutes, and then we shall.
Instead, I want to prefer to answer his question as to why you just suspect people before they have done it, and you are arresting them because the action is not complete. Now, that will depend on the charge preferred, which section, because there are some sections of the law which just deals with attempt. When the offense is not complete, there is also a provision of attempt. Like you are not supposed, you are not supposed
fair
to.
enough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you are not supposed to die.
But fair enough has got to be qualified though.
To kill yourself.
You still have to qualify the attempt.
Okay, you are not supposed to kill yourself. But if you attempt to hang yourself,
they find you with a rope.
With attempted suicide, then you will be charged for attempting. So you can only survive that offense if you complete it. So to answer your question, why you arrest them and yet they still have this information, it will depend on the charge, because the ingredients of the offense is there. Of course, if the state prefer the wrong charge, and that is when the guys will walk away, because ingredients of the offense are known. But a clean, knowledgeable state attorney, if the offense is not completed, you would prefer the option of attempt. That is when the offense is not yet complete. So we would wait to see what they would have brought. But now, I think this brings me to your question, that it is done, the state has the power before trial to discontinue, or even not to prefer a charge. Not to prefer a charge, if a charge was preferred, to discontinue it. So it is within the charge. I think that answer will do it. Now my conclusion is that the bigger talk of election violence, I want to repeat that as NRM, we want a free and fair competition and we think that we have built our capacity as a party, as a secretariat, to carry this campaign to the logical conclusion without violence. We also believe that violence plays against us and plays in favor of NUP. And therefore, we ask all the stakeholders to keep cool, let us wrestle. We shall deliver victory up to 75%, and they'll go home celebrating.
Okay. Our viewers, I don't want to add anything. You have heard from our panel, and all that I can say is also to, of course, add my voice onto Honorable Awich Pollar's voice, and also Professor Rogers's and Mr. Joseph Ochieno's, that we need a very, very peaceful process with no bias from any security agency, but of course looking forward to also understanding that Uganda is for all of us, so as long as we also protect it, and of course with the ideals that this country wishes to achieve now, tomorrow, and of course the future. See you tomorrow, where my other colleague is going to host Commissioner Fred Bamwine tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Catch you then, Norman.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.